The Arctic is not usually where global power struggles begin. It is quiet, frozen, and distant from the noise of daily politics. But history shows that the most important shifts often start far from public attention. In recent days, that distant region has returned to the center of international debate. Not because of war, not because of crisis on the ground, but because of a statement that reopened an old question in a new global moment. Former U.S. President Donald Trump stated that American control of Greenland would make NATO stronger. The words were simple. The implications were not. To understand why this statement matters, we need to slow down. We need to understand Greenland itself, its history, its strategic value, and why major powers have quietly competed over it for more than a century. Greenland is the world's largest island. It sits between North America and Europe, stretching deep into the Arctic Circle. Despite its size, it has a small population. Most of its landmass is covered by ice. Politically, Greenland is an autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. It governs its internal affairs, while Denmark handles defense and foreign policy. This arrangement has worked for decades, but it has never removed Greenland from global strategic calculations. During World War II, the United States recognized Greenland's importance. With Europe under threat, the U.S. moved to protect the island. This was not about expansion. It was about access, security, and geography. That logic never disappeared. It simply became quieter. Today, the U.S. operates Pituffik Space Base in Greenland, formerly known as Thule Air Base. It plays a role in missile warning systems, space surveillance, and Arctic defense. For NATO, this base is already critical. So when Trump speaks about Greenland strengthening NATO, he is not inventing a new idea. He is reviving an old one. But the world has changed. The Arctic is changing faster than almost any other region on Earth. Ice is melting. Shipping routes are opening. Resources once locked beneath ice are becoming accessible. This has drawn the attention of global powers. Russia has expanded its Arctic military presence. China has declared itself a near-Arctic state. Both see opportunity, both see leverage. For NATO, this presents a challenge. The alliance was built for a different era, one focused on Europe's heartland, not its frozen edges. Trump's statement taps into this strategic anxiety. It suggests that geography itself is becoming power again. But there is a critical difference between influence and ownership, between partnership and control. Greenland is not an empty map. It is home to people, to communities, to a political identity that has grown more assertive over time. Many Greenlanders support greater independence, not foreign control. They are wary of becoming a pawn between great powers. This is where statements like Trump's become sensitive, not because of intent, but because of interpretation. From Washington, the focus is security. From Copenhagen, it is sovereignty. From Nuuk, Greenland's capital, it is self-determination. And from Moscow and Beijing, it is opportunity. When global leaders speak about control, strength, and alliances, every word is measured, not just by allies, but by competitors. Trump's framing was direct. He argued that U.S. control would make NATO far more formidable. This suggests a belief that centralized authority strengthens deterrence. But NATO is not a single state. It is an alliance built on consent, on shared interests, on political legitimacy. That is why reactions matter. Danish officials have historically rejected any notion of selling or transferring Greenland. Greenland's leaders have done the same. Their response has been consistent. Greenland is not for sale. Yet the conversation keeps returning, because the strategic logic never disappears. As Arctic competition intensifies, questions grow louder. Who secures the region? Who controls access? Who sets the rules? The United States already has influence in Greenland. NATO already benefits from its location. So why raise the issue again? Part of the answer lies in timing. Global power is shifting, alliances are being tested, and geography is once again central to security planning. Trump's statement reflects a broader reality. The Arctic is no longer a distant frontier. It is a strategic arena, and this is only the beginning of the story. In the next section, we examine how NATO views the Arctic today, how Russia and China are responding, and why Greenland sits at the center of a quiet but growing global competition. To understand why Greenland keeps returning to global conversations, we need to look beyond statements and focus on strategy, not speeches, not headlines, but planning. For NATO, the Arctic was once a secondary concern. During the Cold War, attention focused on Central Europe and nuclear deterrence. The Arctic mattered, but quietly. Today, that has changed. Climate change has altered geography itself. Sea ice is retreating. New maritime routes are opening. What was once inaccessible is now reachable for longer periods each year. This transformation has strategic consequences. Shipping lanes shorten distances between Asia, Europe, and North America. Natural resources become easier to access, and military mobility increases. NATO planners now view the Arctic as a connected theater, not isolated, not frozen in time, but active. Russia understands this. Over the past decade, Moscow has expanded its Arctic footprint. It has modernized bases, reopened airfields, increased patrols. From Russia's perspective, the Arctic is both shield and corridor, a place to protect its northern borders, and a route for submarines and strategic assets. China's interest is different, but no less significant. Beijing has invested in Arctic research, sought partnerships, and framed the region as part of its long-term economic vision. This creates a complex triangle: the United States, Russia, China. Greenland sits at the center of that triangle. This is why Trump's comment resonates. It is not about immediate action. It is about signaling priorities. When leaders speak publicly about strategic regions, they are often speaking to multiple audiences at once: domestic voters, allies, and rivals. Trump's argument focused on strength, that NATO would be far more formidable with Greenland under U.S. control. Supporters of this view see efficiency, unified command, clear authority. Critics see risk, political backlash, legal complications, damage to alliance cohesion. NATO operates on consensus. Every member matters. Perceptions of dominance can undermine trust. Denmark, a NATO member itself, is central here. Any discussion of Greenland directly affects Copenhagen. This is not theoretical. It is political reality. For Greenland's leaders, the issue is identity. Self-rule has grown steadily. Calls for full independence exist. Control by any foreign power runs against that trajectory. This is why language matters. Words shape reactions. Reactions shape policy. The United States already has what it needs operationally: access, bases, partnership. So why escalate rhetoric? One explanation is deterrence, signaling commitment to Arctic defense. Another is competition, making clear that the region is not open terrain. But deterrence only works if it is understood, and not misunderstood. There is also the domestic dimension. Statements about strength resonate with certain audiences. They frame leadership as decisive, yet global security does not operate on soundbites. It operates on coordination. Behind closed doors, U.S. officials have consistently emphasized cooperation rather than control. Joint exercises, shared intelligence, collective defense. This gap between rhetoric and policy is not unusual, but it creates uncertainty, and uncertainty invites reaction. Russia watches NATO statements closely. China measures opportunity. Allies seek reassurance. The Arctic is becoming a test case. Can competition be managed, or will it harden into confrontation? Greenland's role will depend on choices made now. Quiet choices, technical choices, diplomatic choices, not dramatic gestures. As this strategic environment evolves, the key question is not who controls Greenland, it is who sets the rules. In the next section, we examine how global powers may respond in the years ahead, what risks escalation carries, and what future scenarios could realistically unfold. As competition in the Arctic grows, the most important developments are often the least visible. They do not arrive with announcements. They arrive through policy shifts, budget lines, and quiet coordination between governments. For the United States, the challenge is balance, demonstrating strength without provoking escalation, reassuring allies without unsettling them, and competing with rivals without turning the Arctic into a flashpoint. Greenland is central to this balance, not as a possession, but as a position. Future scenarios fall into several broad paths. None are predetermined. All depend on restraint, cooperation, and clarity. One path is managed competition. In this scenario, NATO strengthens Arctic coordination. Investments focus on surveillance, infrastructure, and communication. Greenland remains autonomous, Denmark remains responsible for defense, and partnerships deepen without altering sovereignty. This is the least dramatic outcome. It is also the most stable. Another path is strategic hardening. Rhetoric sharpens, military activity increases, exercises become more frequent. In this environment, miscalculation becomes the risk, not war by design, but incident by accident.